everybody, it's Thursday night, it's the Smart Connected group, and I have got such a special guest for you tonight, and his name is Vince Patten. Welcome, Vince. It's so great to have you here.
Hi, Jane. Great to see you.
So Vince is the chief executive and the founder of an app called Tippzi, and he's going to be telling you all about that. And we've had a great chat just before we got started, and he is somebody who has so much value to offer all the people on the group. So we're just going to get into it without further ado. So Vince, tell us all about Tippzi.
Yeah, Tippzi started a few years ago. It was generally an app to help small businesses get cheap, affordable ads, £1 a day. And because they can't afford to advertise digitally or whatever, and it's simple and it's less time consuming because they haven't got time. They just put their pictures, their hyperlinks on there. And basically it's a smartphone app. People see it, go down app, see businesses, look for a deal, and all they do is click on the deal 1 second, go into the shop and collect the deal in 1 second. That was the original concept, but it's changed. We'll go into that later on.
Okay, so how did you get into that, Vince? Because obviously this didn't come out of nowhere. So tell us a little bit about you and your history and how you came to be a tech founder.
Well, I think, I used to be an entertainer. I still do a bit of entertaining, comedy, magic. I worked all over the world, 25 countries. And let's go back about 4 years ago when I was basing myself mostly in England, because I used to go right around the world all the time, America, Russia, Dubai. And obviously I had to use digital ads to get work because there's no paper ads anymore. It's just all digital. So I would class myself as a micro business, small SME, and I was spending £200 a week, and I was getting maybe 3 jobs, which is good. I'm spending about a third of my, 25% on the ads. And then fast forward 6 months, I'm spending £200 a week. I'm getting 2 jobs. I'm thinking, hang on a minute, this isn't right. So I try and work it and whatever I'm doing. And about another 6 months later, I'm finding I'm literally getting 1.5 jobs on average a week. And then I rang my sister, and my sister's got a small business. And the words that she said made a real big impact on me. And I said, how are you today? So I'm all right. She says, no, I'm not really all right. I says, why? She says, I'm working to pay Google. I goes, what do you mean? She says, well, what I'm spending, I'm just getting back. So I'm not making any money when I'm advertising. Whereas 2 years ago, it was my living. I was making money. I've got to now look for another career. And I thought, you know what? It's not just me. It's not just me. Everyone's got the same problem. And there is many, many reasons which we might go into why that happens. Because I looked into it deeply. I spent a year analysing why small businesses don't survive. And there was quite a few reasons which we might go into. And then I did a charity booking for comedy. So there's good stuff to this, and it was for a children's charity. And the mentor for that charity worked for one of the UK's top tech accelerators, Shoreditch Partnership. The guy was called John Riley, and he oversees this charity, which I didn't know. And my sister was there with me, and she didn't realise the charity was based. She lives down in Surrey, right next door to her. So there was a little connection, and we got talking, and I got to know him and his son and whatever, and we got good friends. And basically, one day I said, I've got an idea, because I heard he was a big time in the city. He was a good connection. And that's something I will ask your listeners to look out for. You mentioned on a few of your live streams before about connections. Connections just happen. But when they happen, sometimes it's magical. And this was magical because he was in tech. He's an expert in tech, this John Riley guy. And he said, well, put something together. And I spent 6 months doing a summary document. And I was out and about looking at the problems facing tech people, small businesses, sorry. And I didn't realize the problems people have got. They're really, real got problems. They're literally just not surviving. I actually went in some shops, Clapham.
Yeah.
There's a road called Northcote Road. I could
Yeah.
still go in these shops today. And I'll always remember walking down for my first market research. And I was going in these shops. And I went in one shop and a woman cried. I was talking about ads. I won't mention the company she advertises on. And she said, I can't do it. Because she was round the corner, sort of off the road. She said, I just can't do it. She says, I can't advertise. She says, it's just so expensive and I can't get my name and word out there. And the local papers don't work anymore. So I'm stuck. And I'm in a world that I don't know anything about. And she was literally crying. And I had a couple of funny other moments because then I walked in a shop and I was just getting research, find out what I need to do. And one guy went, not interested, right? Like that, not interested. And I'm walking out of the shop. I said, I was just on about digital ads, against Google and Facebook. He said, come back in. And he sat down with me and he was interested. And I found when I said I was doing something different, something more affordable, people wanted to hear from me. And I thought, I've got something here. So then I put the idea together, I've got a good team, really good team of people. And I created this app that is really special because we have a geo search. If you go on Google, you do your search, you've got your horizontal ads.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on our app, it's nearest to where you stood. So that means it means something when you see it. Oh, it's near me, the nearest hairdresser or the nearest shoe, cobbler or whatever.
Mm.
And so we built the tech for that. Then we did a wallet system. So if you see a deal, say a shop gives 15% off haircuts on Monday to Friday, which everyone, especially with COVID, they're all looking for a deal.
Yeah.
Everyone's always looking for a deal, Jane. Everybody, rich people as well as poor people, believe you me. And that's why the rich probably, Jane. So
that's right.
So we created this wallet system. And if you go on Groupon or Voucher, it takes you eight minutes. You've got to do this, put your name, put your credit card in. And nowadays, the most important thing in apps, if anyone's ever going to do an app, the most important thing is one word, Jane: convenience. They want it now, convenience, quick. So the wallet system we created, it takes 1 second to click it into your wallet, and it takes 1 second click to go into the shop or whatever to collect it. So that was game changing.
Yeah.
And so it's just a quick way, a cheaper, affordable way for small businesses to compete. And that was stage one of what we did. And when we was out there, we had a good team of people. We helped the businesses. And we found out a lot of things. Number one, they don't use Facebook anymore. They use Instagram. And all the businesses, owners, a lot of them don't understand tech. Jane, you know what I mean? It's like they know the Facebook maybe, and then they've got problems from there. But the beautiful thing is they use their nieces and nephews, probably 13 or 14 years old, because they know all this stuff. So they say, will you put this up? And they'll give them, and you'd be amazed, especially in all the cultural shops. And I used to go into a lot of these cultural shops from different countries and whatever. And they said, I can't do nothing. And I'd say, hey, because I'd pinch these ideas for them. And I'd say, do this. And they were going, oh, great. I never thought of that. And I was going back to them and they were contacting me and said, oh, thank you. I've got my niece doing this. I just bung her £5-10. She puts it up for me, the pictures. And I said, don't forget to advertise with me though. Give me the idea. So we had something special, and we were really, obviously, we all know what happened in March. Small businesses, they were already struggling, a lot of them.
Yes.
But when this hit, who's it hit most? Small businesses. So in actual fact, all the work we've done, in a way, is going to be the future, because if you look at 1998, the two biggest businesses come out of that were Airbnb and Uber, because people have got less money, they've got less capital, so they try and save money. Although Uber didn't start, everyone thinks Uber started about saving money, but it was actually about the taxis in San Francisco. They were all a mess, so a local person started it, put it on the Facebook group or whatever, and everyone said yeah. So they got a social movement going, and it made the brand big, and it went all over the world. Because when we get to England, it was about saving money because that tax is expensive. So that's how it started, and we've just moved on now another dimension, because when anyone who's starting a business, my biggest advice to them is this: listen to the people, listen to the customer, the consumer, because sometimes, and I think I spoke to you earlier, Jane, a founder cannot do everything. A founder who tries to do everything in a business will fail, because you can't do the marketing, the sales, you can't do everything. So basically, I've made sure that I've got myself a team, a really special team. And that journey was interesting, because I got so much money and went for investment. And when I went for investment, I thought, right, I've got this amount of money. I've got to get a team, and I've got to spend this money in the right way, because it's somebody else's money. It's not my money. So I went looking for my branding, my design, and it was quite easy. I saw, luckily, the first people I saw, I just loved. In fact, my designer didn't say a word, but sometimes you got to go on feelings. I just like this. The company was 48 Creates, and the brand, there's Chloe and Dan. And Chloe was like a real strong businesswoman. She knew exactly. And Dan was like really quiet, but there was something about him. And it was the best move I ever did, because, boy, were they good. And if I hadn't have got that original branding right, now, people sometimes say, and I believe you was highly in branding, but everyone says, what is good branding? I did a lot of experimentation with branding, and I think I found out what it is. It's, if people say negative things about the branding, it's not going to be good. Don't expect people to go, wow, that's good branding. When people don't mention it, you're all right, because it's, do you understand it? It's like under the radar, that's slick under the ceiling, because the Coca-Cola and the Nike tick didn't just happen. When it was first done, people didn't go, oh, that's great. But the brand built round that. And I believe that's what it is. That subtle branding, sometimes the best branding.
Yeah, I mean, indeed. And I think people do misunderstand brand. And of course, I ran a brand identity agency for many years. So, I was talking to clients day in, day out about this. And I mean, actually, a brand is far more than just the visual appearance that you're putting on something. It's also to do with the behavior of the business and the customer experience. In fact, it's, completely kind of holistic thing. And that's how brands evolve. It's really just, to do with the customer experience at the end of the day. And of course, the visual manifestation of that does matter, because we all respond to, attractive visuals, but you can't have one without the other. You can't have a, pretty kind of glossy wrapping and a rubbish product on the inside and expect to have a brand that grows. Doesn't work, does it?
Yeah, you're right. People do, I think, now a lot look behind the brand, look into the ethics of the brand.
Yes.
We also now look on the carbon footprint of the brand. And this is something that changed from when I first started 3 or 4 years ago, because I think you've looked into that. I'm really heavily into carbon footprint. I'm really into lowering that for businesses. And I told you I'm also into diversity and neurodiversity especially. And when I first started seeing these things, because I looked at other accelerators beforehand, they'd say, no, investors are not interested in that. They're just interested in profits.
Mm-hmm.
I got that for a good 9 months. Oh, don't even mention that, because if you're saying that, they're not here to save the world. They're here to make money. And that's all I got. And I said, I looked at it a different way. I always knew that this would happen, that doing this improves the image of your brand.
Mm-hmm.
People feel good about your brand.
Yeah.
Once people feel good about your brand, Jane, they will stay with you. They will invest in you. They will share you with their friends. Because people, when they've got £1 to spend, they want to know where that money's going to go. They really do. And it's also probably to do with the smartphone generation, because it's very quick to search things about a brand now. You can search what they're up to, what they've done. And when you see efforts, you know, the animal things and the children, you look into what they've done and what they've helped and who they've helped. And sometimes it gets a connection with you. Once you get a connection, then your brand's going to fly. That's what happened with Uber, because Uber was the girls, most of the women you'd have these new clean dresses on, going out on a Saturday night to sit in the taxi, to come out, and it's just, and it was just awful. And when that person started that business, they went, that happened to me, that happened to me, and they told all the friends, and it just went viral, it went big. And that was what, 12 years ago. And that's how the world's changed.
Yes.
Whatever you do now, whatever you do with your brand is going to be online forever. So you've got to make the right steps. That's why you've got to get the right team. Team is important. And I told you earlier that sometimes people come to me and they want to join our revolution. And when they say, I've done this and I've done that and I've got this certificate, that's not how it works. You've got to look at the person. And generally speaking, you know the good ones. You just know there's something about them. I really do think intuition is very important in business. Really is. Because if you feel good about someone, I think your customers are going to feel good about them as well.
That's really, really great, Vince. And the other point that you raised about diversity and about the carbon footprint, and I know that we also, well, we didn't talk about this, but I know it's in your profile, all about the United Nations goals and so on, and all of those ethical factors, if you like. They do have an impact in terms of, as you said, the perception that people have of you, but they also add value to the bottom line, don't they? So I'd love to talk about that for a moment, and how, as you said, investors are valuing. It's not just investors; it's the market really is valuing those things more, and how you came to incorporate those ethical things into your business.
Well, Jane, it's 100% gone the other way. Can I just tell you a little quick story that I heard recently? I'm not too sure about, I think it's New York. It's always New York, right? But on the neurodiversity thing, there's a company, and it's like a mini Amazon, but it's upmarket, and they pack upmarket items and they send them out to rich clients. And they got people working for them who had, in some extent, extreme handicaps. And basically, they did it for the right reason, but it actually made their brand go, whoa. And the reason being, one of the handicapped people, he wrote a message in one of the parcels, and he put, "Hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm paraplegic," or I don't know an expression, and he went, blah, blah, blah. You've made me, doing this has helped me be independent, make money, and help my family and support me. And they put it in the parcel. They sent it, and of course the person who got it cried and thought, this is fantastic. Put it online, and everyone's contacted the company and go, oh, and now they're doing that. Everyone who works for them, they're doing that. But what it's the power. Sometimes doing something good. I don't think this company did it for that reason, but they did a good thing. And what's happened? Their business went rocketed. So doing good things does pay off. Comes back to about me and Tippzi. Tippzi, because of the way we've done the deals, it means people are not using paper. And we're hoping to go into big corporates as well, because they do all these campaigns to give away flyers. The problem is all these flyers, they end up in the landfill. The landfills are full to bursting. Now, I could go on about plastic. Plastics pollution is 10, 100 times worse. But paper pollution, and people don't realize paper is using oil and water. And it's really, really bad for the environment, all this printing. So when someone uses Tippzi, well, we know there's 3 different versions of carbon footprint: scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. Now, on scope 1, it's what you do yourself. Scope 2 is around you, like your electrics. Scope 3 is usually not mentioned by the big corporates, but that's the cradle to the grave version of the product. So what that means is, if you use a plastic bag that they've given you, they don't count that. They say we're scope 1, scope 2, but in effect, really, they're scope 3 as well. And the good thing is, if people use our app, Tippzi, they're cutting their carbon footprint, because every little thing helps. You don't need a flyer. You can use our app. And I did tell you that we, at the moment, have redone our app completely, because another thing, I know you told me you've got a lot of startups on your forum. Well, sometimes you do something, and when you do it, you don't know what's going to be successful within that project. Sometimes you think, oh, we'll just put that in there. And when you go out into the real world, sometimes the thing that you didn't think about, we added AR. Now, the reason why I did AR is last year, Mark Zuckerberg, who I really think a lot about, he's a very clever guy. And he said that the internet and then the mobiles, the 2 big things, he said the 3rd big thing will be AR, augmented reality. And we had a little tiny version of augmented reality into our app built in there. And what we found out was people loved it. I remember once being on a train and I using a trial version 2 years ago, and I was using it, and it's like a Hollywood movie when you're doing it on our app. Yeah, it's basically, remember Pokemon Go? I'll do it in a simple form. Pokemon Go, you had these airdrop these Pokemons, you'd get your mobile phone, you'd see them with your camera view, click them and play with them. Well, I did a version of that where I thought, you know what? Would it be funny to get a Starbucks coffee cup in the middle of the street outside Starbucks? People go up, see it, go click, go in and get 10% discount. Simple. And I didn't realize, to me, it was just a bit of fun on the app, on Tippzi app. And then everyone said, why didn't no one else think about that? And the beautiful thing about the app is, because we started building that into the app already, we saved 1 year's work. Because if you try and bring a technology into an already structured app, you've got to change all the code, the way it aligns with all the other systems within it. And your biggest problem is, which a lot of your people are going to find out when they're trying to do a business, is there's a massive problem. And this needs to be addressed. I don't know why people are not addressing this, but Android and iOS, they're just incompatible. It's just, they're both different. So you've got to work 10 times harder to align them. And that's going to make it hard for startups. And if they're trying to get investment to do an app or whatever like that, they could ask for a lot less if that was sorted. Because aligning them with every bit of tech you've got is really difficult, and it's costly, and it's dev is expensive. And a lot of people say to me, oh, you can go abroad and you get it cheaper and whatever like that. But no, it doesn't work like that, because there's always a bad point to a good point. Because if you've got a business and you've built an app and you've got a load of code, if you give that to someone in another country that you don't know, you don't know who they are, they
Mhm.
could share your code. And this is done, by the way, a lot. So there's a lot of things, to look at in that way. But the AR system, we've decided now, because there's always, when something bad happens, like COVID, sometimes you think, you know what, this gives us time to do something we want to do. So we thought, you know what, everyone loves this. So now we're just going mad with it. We're upgrading it. We're going to make it fantastic. We're going to do it where you can drop anything anywhere in the world. And we're kind of excited about that, because that will add a bit of fun to digital ads. And I
Mm.
think it needs it.
I'm excited already. I think it sounds amazing. So, Vince, let's talk about fundraising, because you've raised a lot of money, haven't you, for
Yeah.
TIP? And so I'd love to hear about that journey. Investment, of course, is really important if you want to scale rapidly. In fact, with some businesses, it's absolutely essential, because you just cannot get past those early days without it. So love to hear all about your journey in terms of raising finance. How
Well, I
much
can
you
relate. I can relate to these new business, Jane, because I'm always raising. I'm still raising money. I'm still getting investment, because I'm improving all the time. So everyone's always looking for money. I think even the big businesses are looking for money all the time.
yeah.
But number one, if you're going to be fundraising, you've got to have something good. If you haven't got a good idea or something that's going to change the market a little bit, sometimes it's something simple, Jane. It doesn't have to be anything complicated or convoluted. And then you've got to put it down on paper. You've got to do a summary. You don't just, it's not like a business plan like you used to do when you shop and it's money in. With technology, people want to know how are you going to change things? Why is this tech going to be special? Why do people want this? Is there a market for it? What is the market as well? And then what you do is do yourself a PowerPoint presentation. And when you do a PowerPoint presentation, go on Google. You can get free PowerPoint. Everyone thinks they've got to buy these things. You can find these things for nothing. You get yourself a PowerPoint. Look for templates for these things, and then get some images. That gets you started on what you're putting across. Add some dialogue to the images, and then put simple bullet points about your business. And if you do that, then you can show it to people, your friends and family, whatever, and you will go, oh, I don't understand that. Then you can improve it and improve it. Then what you need to do is there is probably 20 pitch events in London normally during normal live. You will go there and you will do a 5-minute pitch, just 5 minutes, and you'll show some slides, and you'll say, I'm looking for X amount of money for 10% equity. One bigger bit of advice, because people don't understand the way it works with tech, they think, I'm happy to get £200,000 and I'll give 40% of equity away. I would never do that if I was them, because you've got to give away small equity, maybe 5-10% initially, because what happens is nobody's going to invest in a business when already 40% has gone out of the business, because it's going to keep diluting and diluting and diluting. And that diluting means that the equity that someone's got the last round is going to be worth less the next round.
Yeah.
And this is another reason why people make a big mistake and they think getting a lot of money investment is good. It isn't, because you get a lot of money, you spend it quicker. And when you haven't got much money, you're really careful with the money and you make sure you get things done with the money. And also you make so many connections. Now, I was a bit different, because I had an accelerator, Shoreditch Partnership, and what they did was they got 5 people in a room and I pitched. Now, when I pitched, it was a bit like, people say, is it like Dragon's Den?
That's what people.
I can't tell you, Jane. I cannot tell you what happened in that room. I'd have to tell you, because it's not. Dragon's Den is like a children's meeting compared to, because when people, these investors, it's real money. It's real money. They're not there to show off on BBC Two or whatever. They're there and they've got money and they want to know, and they'll drill you. They drill you like a drill sergeant about every little thing. And I made sure when I went in that room, I never had no paper with me, pieces of paper with me, because I think if you don't know your business inside out, backwards and behind, when you spend time writing your summary document, I think don't bring paper. In actual fact, a nice little bit of advice, don't bring anything in, because it actually puts you off, because you'll be looking and you forget your thread, and people, they're not going to invest in you. People want to know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was very lucky. I mean, my investors were very good. In fact, one was a lawyer, actually. And so you get the investment. Now, everyone, if you think when you get the investment, job done, don't bother getting into it, because the hard work is only just beginning.
Yes.
Because then you've got to get a team together.
Mm.
Now, if you pick the wrong person for that team in one position, you're going to fail. 30% fail in a few months or whatever. You've got to pick a team, and you've also got, because I had accelerators. What an accelerator is I've got to get my money from them. I say I want this for new development, but they've been experienced for years in technology. They'll say, well, are you sure? And they'll say the pros and cons of using that. I've got to make the decision in the end, but I do listen to them. I hear a lot of founders don't listen and they fail. I listen, I think, these guys have been there before. I don't know certain things. You learn quickly as you go along. But what also happens, Jane, which might be funny, but you find it's very hard to get money because they're protecting you, because you might have hundreds of thousands of pounds, but when you've got staff and you're paying for things, it will go down and go down and go down. And you've got to think a year ahead, 18 moves ahead. And I thank God that happened for me, because if I'd have just spent money willy-nilly, I would have run out of money and not finished my tech or whatever. But also, what this does as well, it means the investors they don't go on my back, they go on the accelerator and say, what's he up to? What's the money being spent on? What's happening? Mm-hmm. So they get that, and then they come to me. So do you know what? I must admit, there's been many.
You've got they've got a buffer and you've got a buffer.
Yeah. And Jane, can I be honest with you? There's been a lot of times when I've just bought the things myself, because you've got to, and if you don't treat every penny with respect that you've got off somebody, you ain't going to last in any business, because there's a lot of businesses out there now and they've got no money. They're going out of business. They're losing the workers, are their friends, and you've got to respect money.
Yeah.
And if you respect money, you find it goes further. And so I think that was a bit of advice I'd give people. Just because you got money, don't spend it. Hold on to it. I remember there was a long time I had 50,000 sort of sitting. I thought, I'll leave that, I don't want to touch that. I'll keep away as long as I can. And but what you've got to do as well, you've got to, I know a lot of your users are not all in tech, but in tech, things change. So while I'm doing something, things are changing. So I've got to keep my ear out and whatever.
Yes.
Now, with Tippzi, the carbon footprint thing, which was fantastic, save on that.
Yeah.
But the thing that was the augmented reality, I'll explain it simply because a lot of people don't know what it is, but it's like a 3D effect. Mm-hmm. You get the phone, you get to the lens, and you can see things that you can't see if you take it away from the phone. And we've created a really great Hollywood style, it's fantastic, viewfinder. And people go click and they just love it. And I want to click Coca-Cola cans or whatever I want to click. And we can drop them anywhere in the world. So say big brands. Now, this might help us with the small businesses. We'll come into that in a second. But if we want to do corporates for this a lot, but the better we do, it's going to be better for the small businesses because we've got all the small businesses on there. And it means we're going to be able to subsidize them and get them more exposure. So it's one big business helping small businesses. Because I think in reality, big businesses want small businesses to survive. Because if you're selling Pepsi Cola, right, the little corner shop is selling it. So everyone's needs to help each other out.
It's
And yeah, so we do this, and it's just that click. Now, 9 out of 10 brands, Jane, at the moment use augmented reality, but it's normally like on Instagram, you know, when you put your clothes on and it's pretend clothes and you put the makeup on or whatever.
yeah.
That's all your brands. Now, say you've got Revlon lipstick or you've got Next clothes, you don't really know what it is. You know, so people are spending money to promote AR. But with us, if a company comes and said, hey, we want to promote JD Sports trainers outside the shop, people click them. What happens is they've got their company inside the wallet within someone's. One of the most precious items is a smartphone. They've got it in there, and that's a connection brands want. You know, you did brand identity, and that's going to be very, very powerful.
Yes,
going forward.
indeed.
Next question.
Yeah. So Vince, I wanted to ask about the advice that you would give to small businesses, because that's obviously something that we did talk about earlier. So what would you say to somebody who's starting up a business now? What would be your best piece of advice?
Well, I don't think there's going to be a lot of businesses setting up now, as you know, unfortunately, and there's going to be a lot of businesses that are falling to the side, and I think it's criminal. I've seen, you know, and I've had a couple of good friends of mine who've had businesses, and they just love the business, and they said, look, we can't do anymore. And do you know what makes it really bad? Some of them have had savings, and they're trying to keep open. The savings have gone, so they've not even got the savings. My advice is this: digital ads are very difficult. When we get Tippzi flying in the future, we're going to put a lot of small business on. We'll do them a really good rate for the micro businesses. So if anyone watching from corporate or small businesses, contact me on LinkedIn, Vince Patten, right? But there is a few little tricks they can do. If you're a very small business, like I don't know, little hairdressers and mini hairdressers, just go on your get an Instagram channel, easy, cost you nothing, and then get your friends to say do a little post and saying 10% off. By the way, this is actually built into the Tippzi app, where we share all your deals and offers on Twitter, Facebook, etc. We've got that built into Tippzi. I didn't want to go too much into technical sharing we've got. But what I'm saying to small businesses, if they're on Instagram, put pictures up that look nice. Doesn't cost you any money. Get young people you know to help you, because young people can do these things in their sleep. They're better than most marketers at this stuff. And then what you do is get them to share on their Facebook or their Twitter what you've posted, or on their Instagram what you've posted. You're getting free advertisement. You're getting your brand out there. And why this is very important as well: if you've got a little business and it's worth 30,000 or whatever like that, and you want to sell as a going concern, people will go on Google and look for you, and they'll see nothing. But if you do all these things, you'll get a digital footprint. And when you're connected with a big social media company, that looks cool for you. It actually helps your digital footprint. So that's a way I would do it for free. Now, when it comes to digital ads, it's so difficult, because a big company, say there's a big company and they've got 1,000 plumbers, and you're a plumber. Here's the disadvantages: they're going to have a good website, you're going to have a rubbish one.
Mhm.
They're going to be at the top of the search. You're going to be 4th or 5th on the search. Now, 4th or 5th on the search means it's about price point. It means you've got to come down and down. If they're a big company, if it's a job 4 miles away, they'll get someone who lives 4 miles from it. If you're a one-off person, that job could be 16 miles away. In London, it could take you an hour and a half going there, an hour and a half coming back. That's expenses, time. You might have workers in the back with you, in the van with you, whatever. So this is why small businesses can't compete with big businesses. I don't blame the big companies, big tech companies. It's just the way things are. The small business can't complete. This is why we started Tippzi, because we wanted to level. The way we level the playing field, Jane, is this. It's not about how much you spend. It's about how near you are to the app.
Yeah.
So you cannot get any fairer than Tippzi. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to make it as easy for a small business as a big business, Jane.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally get it, because actually in fact, my daughter, she just graduated in events management. And of course, she had a couple of job offers lined up, but you know, the events industry is, of course, not really happening at the moment. So she had this little side hustle, call it, like this nail business. And so she started up this nail business, and all of a sudden, you know, she's telling me that she's doing ads on Instagram, and she's got, you know, her Instagram channel, and she's got it all up and running. She's doing all these videos and these stories, and it's like, where did all that come from? You know, you didn't study marketing. Well, it's just, you know, it's just what I do. And you know, she's got a really, really good customer base. But if you added in something like Tippzi, I totally see how it could explode, you know, because those local businesses, they need local customers, don't they?
And we need local businesses because it's a local economy.
Yeah,
And it's like my mother. My mother at the moment, she's getting on. She finds it hard to go to the shops and stuff. But the shops are getting further away.
yeah,
They're getting further away because they're all closing down. She used to be able to just go to the corner, grab something. That's closed down. So she's got to go further. And for elderly people, it's the way and going on a bus, off a bus, and we need to help small business. I do not understand why they don't make it easier for people, the properties, business properties, to be cheaper in out of the main city centre. These things could be done easy, but I don't know why they're not doing it. There's a lot of things could help small businesses, not just Tippzi.
no, indeed.
Have we got any questions?
So questions, I think everybody is just listening so raptly that we do have a question here. I don't like the user experience on Groupon or voucher. It's so confusing when it comes to redeem a voucher or a deal. So that's not a question.
That's actually, I'll tell you, I will agree with them completely. And they've just told you why I created Tippzi, because it takes 8 minutes. They're right. You've got to put your credit card in. You've got to put your shoe size in. I don't know what you've got to put in, but it takes 7 or 8 minutes at least. It only takes 1 second to collect. Sorry, 1 second to collect the deal into your wallet, and 1 second to redeem it. So we are the antithesis of Groupon and voucher. Also, did you know, a lot of people don't know this, but a voucher and Groupon, they charge the small businesses between 40 and 50%.
Wow.
So the small business is not making money.
Oh,
And this is why we're doing this as well, because we don't charge. They can have as many deals. They can do 100 deals. We'll just charge the pound a day. This is why we could be a game changer for the future. We think we're going to be a game changer.
oh,
And
dear.
I like that comment, that question, whoever did the question, because really that's what we're against. Time, doing all this, filling this in, and then they're still charging businesses 50%. So and what happens, and I've heard this because when I was out doing my grassroots, I went to an hairdresser's, and there's Treatwell as well. Treatwell's one as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they're charging between 40 and 50%. And what happens is they say, we're going to bring you a new customer. So what happens is, yeah, that's all right, we get a new customer. They go in and they redeem the voucher and they get their hair done for 50% off, which means they're not making any money, Jane. They're not making
Oh,
any money. But what happens is They told me the problem. 3 months later, the same woman comes back and she wants the same deal, and she'll download the same to whatever. So it's kind of like it's a vicious circle. Once people get something at a price, they will not pay the normal price anymore. And that's, and also a lot of these like Groupon and voucher, it's passing people, passing trade. So they're not going to be regular customers. So giving them 50% off, a business is not making any money, Jane, because they've got to pay that staff the time. Because if you're paying people even minimum wage, it's going to be more than 50% because the margins are so tight for these small businesses. And they tell me these problems. You know, when I did my research, I was up in Stoke Newington, I was every part of London, and I hear the stories, and they're really, really struggling. And I'm pleased about the Instagram story you just told there, because that does help people. And it's, at Tippzi, we like people to do that. We give them advice to do that. Do what you can that's free. There's a lot of free stuff out there, but it's also time consuming. And you know what? A lot of people told me a little secret. Get a nephew or a young sister or whatever, bung them £10 to do it for you. They told me, just give them a drink, whatever. And they'll do it, and they'll do a good job, and it's as simple as that. Sometimes people don't realize how small profits small businesses get. Do you know that there's 6 million small businesses in the UK? So we've got 5.7 million small SMEs in the UK. Of them, nearly, I'd say 5.4 million are micro businesses. That's 0 to 9 people. I saw a fact recently, and I presented it to somebody and they didn't believe me. I had to look up and get it from everywhere. Do you know there's nearly 2 million businesses in the UK have not got a website?
Wow. Well,
so how are we going to do digital ads for a start? And I know Google did Google My Business, so people could have a presence. That's only because they wanted people to have a presence to do the digital advertising. And then they found out, it's not much reported, but what happened was they did an easier version of Google Ads. Why are they doing an easier version of Google Ads? It's telling you it's complicated. People don't understand it. It's like me. I cannot do hair. I don't need a hairdresser, do I? But like a plumber's really good at what they do, but they're not in tech. I wouldn't know how to do plumbing, but I know how to do tech. And how do we expect a plumber or electrician or a greengrocer to go online and understand tech? They don't. And where do they get the time from? They're trying to make money. They haven't got 2 hours to work out how to do these things. And this is why I'd started Tippzi, because hopefully there will be a revolution. And I hope it's a lot of Tippzis, because small businesses need help. They need help getting the rents down from the government. I just do not understand. I see these places. I saw somewhere, I think it was Bristol or somewhere, and there was like 10 shops and they were all boarded up. And I thought, that makes it just brings down the local economy, and it makes it, you get trouble and you get young people going around, whatever. And it brings down the value of the houses, and people have lost work. One worker, they've got a family. They might be supporting 4 or 5 people. They might have loads of children or whatever. And why don't the government say low rents, low rents, low rents? Then young entrepreneurs will open a little shop. They can afford it. Young entrepreneurs, they might just do little pop-up shops or whatever. And these are the things I don't understand the government are not doing.
Well, that's right, because the other thing is that there's more risk involved, obviously, in an online business, because with a local business, you are going to get footfall. So, I mean, obviously, everybody has to continually attract customers, but I mean, at least you do have that footfall. And that is the opportunity. So we don't want local businesses to disappear, do we? Because it's we need them, as you said, to strengthen communities. But I mean, also it's a good way for people to start who don't necessarily have those kind of tech skills and those marketing skills that you really need in order to build an online business. Online businesses aren't for everyone, but those small businesses, they're valuable. They are valuable to communities.
I
Definitely.
mean, I go around a lot of places in London. I'm sure you as well, but there's little communities of different cultures and different, little pockets of cultures of different people. And it's like I could tell stories that you make you cry, but I went in one, and it was she was selling Muslim clothes, and I went in there, and me and my niece who were going around, we actually helped her. We did our best, but some advertising giant, I won't mention who they are, but they had a paying by direct debit for a load of advertising. And I ended up spending 2 hours looking at this, trying to get her out of it. I rang the company, and she wasn't earning no money. She was sending like Muslim clothes. It was like one, two, or three customers a day. It was just a bit of fun for her. And she was spending all this money. And basically, I was texting her for months afterwards. I just felt so. She was a lovely woman, and she just didn't understand what she was doing. And she signed something, and I rang the contact the company on her behalf, and they said sorry, but she signed it. It's their fault. And I said she doesn't make that much money. And you see things out there that really upsetting, Jane. That's why when we did Tippzi, yes, we want to be a unicorn, a billion-pound company. But if we're doing well, we're helping businesses, we're helping people save money, we're cutting the carbon footprint, and we're helping small businesses survive. That's why I created Tippzi. And if anyone of your listeners, I mean, I've seen your shows, I told you, I love your shows. But any small companies, any big companies, any investors, come and see me, because join the revolution. And what I'm really proud of, I told you as well, we've got a lot of women. I told you, the
Yeah.
last 7 women have come to join me. And it's not because I did it on purpose. It's just there's some fantastic women out there. And one of them came up to me recently, and I was CMO actually. And she said, I just heard about this and I had to be part of it. And it's really good because I've got women and they've got their children, and sometimes you're ringing them and you've got the children making noise in the background. I go, yeah, don't worry, I'm quite used to it. They've got little kids on the legs and that. And I think the world has changed. The world has changed, and small businesses before COVID, I've seen thousands of them. I've seen thousands of them, and they just don't make any money. They really just survive. And now with this COVID, um, I think it could have been handled better, because there's a lot of small businesses not weren't allowed to open. But if they only have 1 or 2 customers in, I didn't see what the problem was. And also the rents. Why not give a rent free during the COVID to all the? Because I think it's the rent they can't do now. How are they going to pay rent? So I believe that the government should have done more for small businesses, and it's common sense. It's common sense because it helps the economy. The small businesses contribute 50% of the economy. So why
Yeah.
don't they do it?
And it's really noticeable, I think, to anybody that's been to the high street. I mean, I live near Watford, so I was in the Into shopping centre the other day. Most of the independent shops, they've gone. Even, going into Soho, I was in London and I walked around, there's some like boutiques and some little boutique shops and restaurants and cafes around Soho. There are a lot of businesses that have closed, and those are mostly the ones that give that character and that flavor to the area, because otherwise it just becomes all homogenous and the same everywhere, doesn't it? And yeah, you're absolutely right. Vince, I've got some questions, so if it's okay with you, I've just got going to ask you some of the questions. So we've got we've got a few. So you ready for this, Vince?
Quick fire answers.
Okay, so what do you think is the next type of digital ads to break through? Is the first one. That's from Liz.
Well, the first digital ad was 1994, and it was a banner ad, and it was for AT&T, and it was almost like a pop-up because it had movement on the ad. And if I tell you what happened, you will never believe me in a million years. It said press here. Now, they didn't put it was AT&T. They didn't actually put the brand on it. So that was a mistake because they didn't have the time to brand it. But in actual fact, I'll come back to that later. That was a great mistake because that became the first native ad as well as first banner ad. And it said, right, before I tell you this, Jane, I want to ask you this question. Now, if you get a banner ad, it's 0.05 chance of someone pressing on it. Okay? How many people do you think, what percentage of people pressed that first ad in 1994? You're not going to believe me. No, 44%.
Oh, 44%.
That means nearly half the people who saw, because now, you know what? You don't even look at a banner ad. You don't even notice it. It's just not there. But 44% of people thought, oh, looks cool, and just pressed it. Oh. Now, in effect, you could write a thesis on that ad because there was so much happened with that ad because it had no branding, which in effect made it a native ad. Now, a native ad, I'll just make it as simple as possible. You got your display ads, which are biggest on Facebook, and obviously on Google, you've got search ads. Now, a display ad is very, very, very poor click-through rate, 0.05. But then you get the search ad on Google. That'll probably be 5 or 7 times better. But a native ad is the holy grail. That's several times better, probably than a search ad. And what a native ad is, an ad that does not look like an ad. Oh. The way it's presented, it's into the way things are meeting. I'm going to come to the answer to that question in a second because of this, because I thought about this recently and I've thought about the future of ads. So this has never been said before, what I'm going to tell you. Yeah. But with a native ad, I'll tell you a little thing. A big company, I don't want to mention them because I'm not anti any company, but it's a big company we all use to search things for. Do you understand, Jane? Right? When you search on this big, I'm not going to mention it, but when you search on this, when you search on this search engine, have you noticed when you're on it, on the side, you've got a few little display ads, a few little ads, banner ads. There's a reason why they're there. The reason why they're there is because it makes you think the content here is normal content. So you're selling, it's an ad, but it doesn't look like an ad. So it becomes a native ad on your search. Because you've got that there, you go, oh, there's the ads. This is not the ads. So you say, so-and-so hairdressers, oh, that's near the top. It's actually an advert. So there's a few little tricks. So something that doesn't seem like an ad is powerful. That's called a native ad. Now, the question was the future of ads. I'll tell you what I think the future of ads is. I think the future of ads is AI, because what will happen is you will be reading a feature on a search engine and automatically down the line, an advert will morph into the same writing, the same look, and it will just come up. By the way, you can press here to find out more on whatever, this toothpaste, and it will look like it's part of the article. I believe that is the future. I would say AI doing all the work to scan what you're reading to ahead of you, and then there'll be digitalization to make sure it doesn't look different. I believe that it's going to be morphed ads. It's going to be ads that look as though they're in the article you're reading. I believe that's going to be the future.
Amazing, like those science fiction movies.
Yeah, I'm quite a geek at trying to work out the future, but I think I'm on the right track there. AI's, machine learning, that's going to change the advertising. And I believe I've never heard anyone say that before, but I think in a few years' time, you remember that comment. That's what's going to happen. It's just going to be part of what you're reading. It's just going to morph into the article. Wow. Next question.
Next question. Vince. That's great. Right. Next question is, what tech company inspired you?
Well, I think I've already said that. I think Uber. Now, Uber this is why I did Tippzi, because Tippzi is a human experience. You're saving money, you're helping a small business, and you're saving the ozone layer. You're improving your carbon footprint. So I think we're a little bit like that. But with Uber, a lot of people are working because of Uber. Again, I've sat down with a lot of Uber drivers. You know what? There's some trendy Uber drivers. They're making good money. They've got really good cars and whatever. And I think the gig economy, yeah, a lot of people don't like, but I speak to a lot of people who like it because they can flit in and flit out. A lot of people are in education and they're doing this, and a lot of people want to be independent. They don't like going to the state. A lot of people, I've met a few people recently with this COVID and said, I don't want to go. I want to, I want to make my own money or whatever. And I think it gives people an independence. Yes, you can say things against it, but I see these gig, they're always happy because they're making money and they're probably getting tips on whatever they're doing. So Uber did inspire me. I do think it's funny that because I've mentioned all the other tech, I've got to mention Amazon.
Yeah.
Because Amazon really, they are part of they've got rid of the small businesses because the small business cannot compete, especially with the fact they're not paying rents, not paying taxes. But they're very clever because Jeff Bezos in America, if he's got deliveries and they've got to be in the middle of nowhere, he uses the US Post Service. Now, he pays a couple of dollars or whatever, but it costs about $5, $6 to deliver. So the American people are paying for Amazon's deliveries. They don't even know it because it's not advertised out there, whatever. So
Wow.
really, there's a lot more to these big companies. They're clever. They're very clever people. They save money. And how can a corner shop compete with Amazon? How can you compete when it's delivered to your door as well? But I'd say Uber, and obviously you've got to respect all the big companies. A company I did like in England is called Bark. It's very good. That was the best movement in digital ads, Bark. But really, in effect, there's not many major tech companies that are household names, and that could be a little problem because it's hard for people to get this in that space. I mean, we're going in for a big space with Tippzi, but we're hoping that the fact we're helping people, we're saving the environment, is going to get us free publicity because that's what it's all about. If people love your brand, it's like the beginning of our conversation. It's all about the people, all about the brand, and it's all about making people's lives easier. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Simple. Any others? Any other questions?
I love that. Right, next question. Okay, I've got a smiley face, which is always good. Right, hi Jane and Vince. I have a question. Do you or would you know someone I could discuss an app idea with?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I work with a lot of accelerators. I told you about that. It, it's probably there's hundreds of people got app ideas, but it is you got to look into it. Is it a good idea? And you need to find out. And first thing you do is test the market. I actually went out. I went on the street. I told you about when I was in Clapham. I went in Clapham, a person crying because they didn't like digital advertising or whatever. When you go out there, if you've got something, tell them. Go out there and don't ask your friends and family. Never ask your friends and family because your friends and family love you. They love you. They're going to say, great idea. Guess why? It's not cost them any money. What I would do is, I wish the person actually said what it was. But what they need to do is, then again, you see, they might want to keep it private what the idea is. So it's very hard for me to answer this because what they should do is find someone who's got that business. Say it was something to do with plumbing. I would pop in a plumber's and go, hey, I've got this idea for something. And I'll tell you one thing now, if you go in a plumber's, they'll tell you. They go, oh yeah, that's great. No, I don't like that, whatever. But then again, Jane, they might have something that's they want to keep quiet, confidential, NDA'd or whatever like that. If you've got something you don't want everyone to know. But yeah, I would actually don't speak to your friends and family. Speak to someone in that business because people know their business, Jane.
They do.
Electricians, I know nothing about changing a thing. Electrician could spend free on me out to change a plug, right? So I would go to them if I was doing something to do with a plug. So go to the source of the problem. Ask them delicately. Don't give everything away about your business plan. Don't give your idea. Just put some feelers out lightly with someone, and it's amazing what you find out just speaking to people within that community. Next one, any more?
Yes. So as a marketer, I know how painful it is even for corporates to do any digital campaign on Google. It's costly and conversion is not guaranteed. You just see your marketing budget going on just clicks. If you just excuse me, Biz, I'm just going to tell my daughters to be quiet because they're falling over the dog. I'll let you answer that question. I'll be right back.
Well, the first thing I will say to you there is you might be making a mistake that a lot of small businesses are making. I'm just saying, Jane, that's answered a very important question that I should have told your listeners earlier. It's a good question. Basically, when digital ads are not working, sometimes it's because it says search and display or search and display, and people don't know the difference. And if you're a small business, you've got to go for search, not display, because display is just displaying something. Search, they're looking for what you've got, the service you've got. So that click can be worth something. But say a big company like Heineken, they can have a banner ad and it's promoting their brand. So that's display. But you're not big enough brand. You're a small business. Don't display, because display will not pay for you. Your payback is bad. And I'm really pleased that question came up, because that is a really big mistake, is going for display. Go for search, because that person who clicks on your ad wants your service. And also, when you're on there doing your digital ads, a lot of people make another mistake. Look at the mileage of how far your ad goes. You can see a button. Just look into it. Get someone to look into it and put it sort of near yourself, within 5-10 miles or whatever. Then you're not going to be traveling 20 miles to do a job. So look at that as well. And also, when you're doing your keywords, keep them simple and make sure that it's something that is a service you're doing, because every time someone clicks, it's costing you money. So make sure, don't go for loads of clicks, just go for the right clicks. This is where a lot of other people go wrong. Think, oh, I've had 20 clicks, that's great. Them 20 clicks have cost you money. What you're better doing is saying, I've only had 5 clicks, I've not spent a lot of money, but guess what? I've got some good, interest or whatever. So I would give you them that bit of advice. Go on the search, because you're a small business. Look at how far away it is, how far you want to go, and make sure your keywords are correct, because don't get the wrong person clicking on your product, because that click has cost you money.
Okay, that's great advice, Vince. Okay, so we've got never ask family. That's so true. So somebody validating that comment.
It happens to everybody, but only because they love you. They love you,
Yeah. And then I will try and connect through LinkedIn, as I have a company who's copyrighted the idea. Okay, so you'll get some get connection out of this. Somebody who's got an exciting idea for an app. Unfortunately, they haven't pre-registered. It just says Facebook users. So I
do advise a lot of companies. So I've got no problem with that. But as I said to you, I advise a lot of companies, but I've got a company, Shoreditch Partnership, advising me. And that's because I'm clever. Because if you think you know everything, you're going to fail. You need a team. You need a team. You need the right people around you. And another thing as well, actually, funnily enough, my accelerators, Paul, there's a guy called Paul Finnegan. He actually lives in Italy. And we always take the mickey that he's in a mafia, because he's really tall. He wears dark suits all the time. And we always say he looks like he was in Goodfellas, the movie, And he said to me, the first time I met him, he said, Vince, only work with people you like, because you're going to be stuck with them for probably years. And you know what? I really, really think that's really good, because, when you've got a company, and I taught another thing as well, never think you're better than anybody else in the company. It doesn't matter what they do. They can be the CEO, founder, they can be the sweeper up. If you treat anybody in that company different, then you should never be a founder, because you've got a high position doesn't mean you're a high person. Sometimes there's people at the bottom, the water carriers, we call them. They are the most important part of the business, because they're out there doing some hard work for the business. And I really think that if people like you, because I told you I used to be an entertainer, and basically, and I used to go to clients. I've been in a lot of very famous people's houses. I really admire. And someone once said to me, Vince, people like you doing your thing. If they didn't like you, they wouldn't enjoy what you do. And I agree with that. And when you work with people you like, I think you work harder. I don't believe it's one thing being strict. No, you've got to be fair. The word's fair. But if you've got someone in your business and they shout at someone, like a female, whatever, and you don't want them people working with your company, because first of all, that woman is not going to feel comfortable. She's not going to be working. She's not going to put any work. She's going to think, well, I'm not really valued here. If you value people, they will value you. And you know what? I've got such great people around me that I'm in awe of a lot of them, and there just happens to be a lot of women. Don't ask me why, but strong women. I've got some very, very strong women, and I'm kind of proud of what we've got so far. We've got a long way to go. As I said to you earlier, there's people out there for investment. Even I'm always looking for investment because it's a journey. Because you get investment, you go further along. Then you get more investment, then you go further along. It's when you're going backwards, you've got a problem.
Yeah.
And in tech, you've got to be thinking in tech 6 months ahead, even a year ahead, because if you think of what I'm thinking today already about changes in technology, I'm thinking if I don't think of them changes now, I'm going to be usurped. That's why when COVID happened, we changed our app. We've now got 6 people working on the AR system because when people saw it, well, you liked it, the idea. People said, "Why has nobody done this?" And the one thing I have mentioned actually, it's good for the carbon footprint, but it's good for your health. Do you know why? Because when you collect it, you've got to click 3 times. You've got to go here and click because it's round you where you stood. And you know what? It's healthy because you go around like this, And down the line, we want to add that to education in poor countries where they've got no education, because we believe that people can see the alphabet and go A, B, whatever, or whatever language it is. I mean, we'll just do that. We've got the technology. So we'd like to help poor countries. You've always got to do something for good with a company, because if you're doing something for good, people love you. Doing good is a lot easier than doing something bad. That's what people don't understand.
A lot more rewarding for most of us anyway.
Is that last anymore? Is that last question? Or?
So we've got time for we've talked for a long time this evening.
I think it's a record. We've done 1 hour and 15 minutes.
It is a record actually. So
because we've had fun, haven't we, Jane? We've had fun.
We have, and I'm going to give you one more question, and then as a prize for all of the people who've stuck with us for the very end, you're going to do a magic trick for us. You did promise.
So, yeah, I'll go on.
Okay, right. So the last question is in response to my previous point. Does Tippzi offer reaching targeted audience of the demographics I want as a business? And is conversion higher than Google Ads?
Well, as you know, we're moving into a different plateau now. But we believe our original target market was students and females, mostly females. The reason being that students like the carbon footprint thing, and we're going to get Sarah on that when we move forward, but also females, because I didn't know this, but 5 times more females than men talk about deals with other females than men talk to men about it. Oh, really? In other words, women like to talk about getting a good deal, men don't. And also, I think, I'm not too sure, but I believe 77%, maybe I think actually in the 80s, of spending in a household is done by the female. So that's why we're targeting females, because we're getting more money for our buck. But as for Google are the kingpins. But if we can just it's not a case of competing with Google. That'd be silly. But basically, if Google goes down, there's billions of dollars there to be made by a small business. We just have to do whatever. But basically, we would think that it's not what we're going to get now or next week or next month or whatever. It's just that we're going to steadily go along, bring all these businesses on board, help these businesses, and all of a sudden something like Uber or Airbnb happens. It just, the public go, you know what, you're helping small businesses. And it just goes viral around Twitter, around Facebook. Then we would jump from what we are now, a few million or whatever, we'd go skyrocketing. So I would say, investment wise, it's a case of wait for the jump, but get in before the jump.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, right. Well, we've come to the end of the questions. So now it is time for your treat, everybody.
I used to like you, Jane.
Well, we had a rehearsal, didn't we, before we started, Vince? So I've a special trick. Okay, now watch this. This is great.
It's an empty bag. Hang on. It's an empty bag. I'm just going to open the bag. I'm trying to keep it in camera. Hang on. And in the bag that's empty, I can pull out a lantern. And look, here's the bag, still empty. Oh, I've got to keep in camera. Pull out another lantern. And here's the bag. Look, I can go like this, roll it up, try and keep it in camera this time, put my hand in. Guess what's inside, Jane? What's inside? Another lantern. Thank you. Wow. My previous career. But you know what, Jane? I'm glad you finished that because can I just finish on one quick story, really quick? Yeah. One quick one. It's about, I'm a founder, CEO of a company, but I like to have a laugh and a bit of fun because if you think you're special or you think you're superior, you're not going to last. Jeff Bezos, quick story. When he started Amazon, he used to have all the developers doing the books, tying the books up. And one night at midnight, they were there for several hours and he was on the ground and he got up and the tea boy came in and he went to him and went, do you know what? This is really tiring. Tomorrow I'm going to get some knee pads. And the tea boy went, why do you get some tables? And you know what? He did it. And productivity went up threefold within a week. And it just shows you the tea boy, it doesn't matter where you are in a company, you can always put input in. And that's the lesson people learn. Listen to your staff, listen to your consumer, because you don't know everything. That's the thing I will tell everybody.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. Well, Vince, thank you so much for joining us tonight. What a fantastic interview and what a treat.
Record time, an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you very much again and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you, Jane.
Bye.